On April 1st, 1984, blood stained the carpet in a second-floor room, like petals wilting to the floor. Marvin Gaye, whose voice in What's Going On once stopped the world in its tracks, lay motionless, just 1 day shy of his 45th birthday. The .38 caliber gun, a gift he'd given his father, had just taken his life. His brother Frankie held him close, hearing Marvin whisper, "I made him do it." Did Marvin, the soul angel, deliberately hand his father the gun to stage his own end? Or did the darkness of a family scarred by childhood beatings and unhealed wounds push him to the edge? Marvin's story is a beautiful tragedy, where genius intertwined with pain. Today, we'll step into that world, piecing together clues to unravel the final mystery. Who really ended Marvin Gaye's life? Chapter 1. Love couldn't heal a childhood of abuse. A boy whose angelic voice silenced a congregation grew up covered in bruises, trembling under his father's belt. Marvin Gaye, an angel born into an earthly hell. In a cramped apartment in Washington, D.C.'s Fairfax apartment slum, Marvin Pence Gay Jr. was born on April 2nd, 1939. His father, Marvin Gay Sr., preached from the House of God pulpit, proclaiming a Sabbath from Friday's sunset to Saturday. But when the church lights dimmed, he became an alcoholic father, unleashing unrelenting beatings on his children. Marvin's sister Jean recalled that from age 7, Marvin's body was a map of scars and bruises, each lash a reminder he wasn't welcome. His mother, Alberta, was his only light in the darkness. She worked as a maid, toiling all day, but every night sat with Marvin, listening to him sing his earliest melodies in the church choir. The piano's notes filled their small room, where Marvin found a sliver of peace. People said that after each beating, Marvin didn't cry. He sat at the piano, fingers trembling on the keys, as if sketching his mother's face, as if music could erase the pain. But his father never stopped. An unsigned letter sent to a journalist in 1983 claimed, "He always doubted he was the real father." Though unverified, those words cut Marvin like a knife, fueling his longing for love and recognition. To escape his father's shadow, Marvin added an E to his last name, not just to mimic his idol Sam Cooke, but to sever ties with the father he wanted to forget. Yet memories weren't so easily cut. At 17, Marvin grabbed a bag and left home, joining the Air Force as a temporary escape from nightmarish nights. But military discipline didn't suit a rebellious soul. He faked mental illness to be discharged, returning to D.C. with a burning dream of music. A close friend said Marvin once stood before a mirror, whispering, "I've always felt like an outsider in this family." Those words, like a prophecy, hinted at the pain that would haunt him forever. In his earliest songs, you could hear the echo of a child calling for his mother and the silent scream of a son unacknowledged by his father. Music was Marvin's refuge, but the scars of childhood remained deep and raw. Did those beatings plant the seeds for his final tragedy? Were his father's wounds the root of Marvin's end? Chapter 2. The Prince of Soul title, but at what cost? In a cramped, smoke-filled studio, Marvin stood behind the drums, fingers tapping rhythm, eyes watching stars pass through. Nobody knew the drummer in the shadows would change Motown forever. Marvin Gaye stepped into 1961 dreaming of escaping his childhood pain, but carrying a silent battle within, a fight to prove the boy his father called not good enough could make the world listen. When Marvin sang Stubborn Kind of Fellow in 1962, listeners didn't just hear a rebel. They heard a child beaten for daring to dream big. The song's explosive rhythm was a declaration that Marvin wouldn't break. Then came I Heard It Through the Grapevine in 1968, a chart-topping hit echoing on every street corner. They called him the Prince of Soul, but Marvin just smiled, saying it was a way to breathe. His duets with Tammy Terrell, like Ain't No Mountain High Enough, brought audiences to tears, as if Marvin had found paradise amid his scars. But the real pinnacle was What's Going On in 1971. The album wasn't just music. It was the heart of a man witnessing the Vietnam War and social injustice. Marvin fought Motown's boss, Berry Gordy, who thought the album was too political, risking fan backlash. "If you don't release it, I'm done singing," Marvin insisted. The album hit #1 on the R&B charts, #2 on the US pop charts, becoming a masterpiece that reshaped how the world saw R&B. Some at Motown whispered Marvin sent a What's Going On demo to a Vietnam vet who later vanished without a trace. Coincidence? Or a piece of the story cut away? Then came Let's Get It On in 1973. Its title track topping the Hot 100, revealing a passionate, sensual Marvin, as if singing to forget his pain. But fame had a price. His father, Marvin Gay Sr., jealous, called him a sinner living without God. Motown demanded he maintain a perfect star image, never allowed to falter. Once, Marvin stood by a studio window, staring at the iron fence around Motown's building. He pointed and whispered to a friend, "A caged bird dies without a blue sky." Those words, like a prophecy, showed Marvin felt fame's confinement. Even at his peak, Marvin carried childhood cracks. Each note was an escape, but it couldn't erase memories of beatings or his father's cold stare. On stage, lights lit up his face. But look closely. After the applause, a shadow lingered in his memory, standing silent. Could music's light banish that darkness? Was it enough to heal Marvin's childhood scars? Chapter 3. Love, a Cure and a Poison. Marvin sat alone in the studio, red lights flickering. In his hand, a crumpled note, its ink blurred by tears. "I don't know how to live without you." For Marvin Gaye, love was an opiate, sweet, then slowly lethal. In a smoke-filled room, he wrote melodies that captivated the world. But offstage, his love was a maze of pain, drama, and secrets never fully told. In 1963, Marvin married Anna Gordy, Berry Gordy's sister, 17 years his senior. Anna inspired pride and joy, but their marriage quickly became a battlefield. Anna controlled his every move, while Marvin sought escape in affairs. Their biggest secret stunned the world. Marvin III, the son they called their own, was actually the child of Anna's 16-year-old niece, Denise. A 1990 paternity test revealed the chilling truth, but nobody knows how it began or why it was hidden. For Marvin, it was a secret buried under fame, like a wound that kept bleeding. After divorcing Anna in 1977, Marvin married Janice Hunter, 17 years his junior, who inspired Let's Get It On. Their love burned like a fire, producing 2 children, Nona and Frankie. But that fire consumed them, as addiction and a reckless lifestyle dragged them into an abyss. Nobody's sure the tear-stained note was real. But if you read it, each line felt like a final cry from a torn soul. "I don't know how to live without you, or with myself." Anna, 17 years older. Janice, 17 years younger. 2 extremes. But Marvin loved them, as if seeking a missing piece, his mother, or the boy he once was. Rumors about Tammy Terrell, his close duet partner, thickened the drama. Fans whispered they were in love, though no proof existed. A friend said Marvin left a note in the studio. "Love is the only thing keeping me alive, but it's killing me." Love was the drug that fueled his timeless melodies, but also the blade cutting into his heart. Marvin loved as if it was his only escape. But if love was a double-edged sword, did it push him to the brink? Chapter 4. When Fame Became a Burden. April 1983. Marvin stepped onto an Atlanta stage amid roaring applause. Under his suit, a bulletproof vest. Nobody knew why. But he whispered to an assistant, "Someone's waiting for me to fall." Fame, for Marvin, wasn't a reward. It was bait. He was the Prince of Soul, captivating the world with what's going on and let's get it on. But in his mind, the stage lights now only illuminated growing fears. Tammy Terrell's 1970 death from a brain tumor was a wound that never healed. Marvin blamed himself, as if he could have saved her. Once, he was found unconscious in an Amsterdam hotel. Broken glass around him. A tape reel snapped mid-song. Nobody dared ask what happened. Marvin only said, "I'm trying to escape myself." Cocaine became a temporary refuge, but it pulled him into a dark spiral, each day a battle with his own mind. His 1983 tour was a disaster. Marvin wasn't just suspicious. He hired lawyer F. Lee Bailey, known for dark cases, to investigate a poisoning plot. At a Boston press conference, he insisted, "They don't want me telling the truth." Who were they? No evidence surfaced, but Marvin wore that bulletproof vest on stage, eyes scanning as if an enemy lurked. The press called him out of control, slamming his reckless lifestyle. Debts piled up. The IRS chased him for taxes, forcing him to flee to Europe. He told a friend, "Fame's a cage, and I'm the prisoner." Paranoia consumed him. An anonymous studio engineer recalled, "Marvin once told me, if I disappear one day, don't believe it was an accident." Those unverified words chilled like a prophecy. He stood before a mirror, his reflection blurred in steam, whispering that the end was near. Fame was once the dream of young Marvin, but now a trap, pulling him into inescapable darkness. Did he sense his death, or see the one who'd bring it? Chapter 5. Living Under a Fatal Roof. Marvin locked his bedroom door. Since returning to Los Angeles in 1983, he rarely stepped out, except when his mother called. The house he bought to shelter his mother, Alberta, became a sealed box, where the ticking clock mixed with her coughing, like a death knell. After a failed tour, Marvin came here seeking peace, but instead found himself trapped in the walls he'd built. Addicted to cocaine, worried about his mother's bone cancer, and haunted by his father's shadow, Marvin Gay Sr. It all tightened around him like a noose. Each day at 2100 1 South Gramercy Place was a battle. Marvin stayed in his room, curtains drawn, only leaving to hug his ailing mother. He told Alberta, "I don't want to live to see you go." His voice trembled, as if speaking to himself. But even his love for her couldn't ease the tension with his father. Marvin Sr., the alcoholic father, often yelled at Alberta over trivial matters. Exhausted by addiction, Marvin still stood up for his mother, like the boy who once hid behind her from the belt. On Christmas 1983, Marvin handed his father a small box. Inside was a .38 caliber Smith & Wesson, gleaming under the lights. He called it a gift for protection. Nobody knew what he was thinking, Weeks later, a relative said Marvin left a note in his room, scrawled, "I don't belong here." Though unverified, it felt like an ominous sign. The gun, his gift to his father, sat quietly in Marvin Sr.'s drawer, a silent witness to the tragedy to come. On March 31st, 1984, a fight erupted. Marvin Sr. screamed at Alberta over a lost insurance paper. Alberta wept, her voice breaking through the hallway. Marvin, unable to take it, rushed out. He shoved his father to the floor, punching him, unleashing decades of pain. Alberta recalled, "I tried to stop Marvin, but he just wanted to protect me." The house shook with shouts and crashing objects. Marvin Sr., face red with rage, stumbled to his feet. Nobody knew that hours later it would all end. The home where Marvin sought love became a cage of fate. Did he unknowingly push his father to the limit as a way to end it all? Chapter 6. The Final Shot. April 1st, 1984. In a second-floor room, blood soaked the carpet like wilting petals. Below lay Marvin Gaye, soul's angel, motionless in the home he once called a haven. Minutes earlier, his father, Marvin Gay Sr., walked in with the .38 caliber Smith & Wesson, Marvin's Christmas gift. 2 shots rang out. The first pierced his heart, lungs, and liver. The second hit his shoulder. Alberta, his mother, screamed, running for help. His brother Frankie, living in the guest house, rushed over, cradling Marvin. Marvin's faint voice whispered, "I made him do it. I've run my race." The tension had exploded the night before when Marvin Sr. yelled at Alberta over a missing insurance paper. Marvin, unable to bear it, shoved and punched his father, venting decades of pain. Alberta said, "I tried to stop Marvin, but he just wanted to protect me." 8 minutes later, Marvin Sr. returned, gun in hand. He fired without a word. At trial, he claimed, "I didn't know the gun was loaded." But the coroner's report showed the first shot was fatal. The second, to the shoulder, was puzzling. Accidental or something else? A 6-year suspended sentence outraged the public, as if justice turned its back on Marvin. His sister Jean believed Marvin provoked his father, as if seeking an end to his pain. An unverified story from a friend said days earlier, Marvin stood by a window, staring at Los Angeles streets, saying, "I know the day's coming, but I'm not afraid." Those words felt like a chilling prophecy. When the ambulance arrived, Marvin was taken to California Hospital Medical Center, but it was too late. He passed at 1 minute past 1 in the afternoon, one day before his 45th birthday. The house, once his refuge with his mother, became an unforgettable tragedy stage. A death caused by his father, or a fate Marvin orchestrated, giving the gun, provoking, and whispering he'd run his race. Conclusion: an immortal legacy and eternal question. Marvin Gaye wasn't just a voice, he was a flame-igniting R&B. What's Going On in 1971 turned music into a call for justice, peace, and love, making the world pause to listen. Let's Get It On. And sexual healing touched the soul's deepest corners with his velvet voice. Over 3 decades later, his music lives on. In 2017, a copyright lawsuit claimed Ed Sheeran's Thinking Out Loud mimicked Let's Get It On's chords. A video of Sheeran singing a mashup of both was played in court, proof of Marvin's enduring spark. He received a posthumous Grammy Lifetime Achievement Award in 1996 and entered the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame, forever the Prince of Soul. But Marvin's legacy isn't just notes. His life warns of unseen wounds. Addiction, family violence, and fame's pressure can extinguish even the brightest stars. Alberta, his mother, was his guiding light, but she couldn't save him from darkness. Marvin Sr., the abusive father, left a haunting question at trial. I didn't know the gun was loaded. Truth, or an excuse for a predestined tragedy? Before closing his eyes, Marvin said 4 words. I made him do it. A confession, an accusation, or a final plea for release? The gun he gave his father, the scrawled note, I don't belong here, and whispers of his end, all pieces of an unfinished puzzle. His sister Jean believed Marvin knew what was coming, pushing his father to the edge. But the truth remains out of reach, like a note lingering in the air. An angel forced to sing for the world, but nobody heard the cry within. When the stage lights dimmed, Marvin Gaye left a low note, forever unexplained. What do you think? Did Marvin choose his death, or did it choose him? Share your favorite Marvin song below, and let's keep his flame alive.